Janey Grace. Welcome to the Natural Health and Sobriety Show on UK Health Radio. Hi and welcome to the Natural Health and Sobriety Show on UK Health Radio. I'm Janey Grace and I love covering a whole bunch of topics on this show. Recently, I think, I've been thinking a lot about mental health issues, about positive thinking, about setting affirmations, manifesting, all of these things. In fact, I've been thinking about this stuff for years. But, I have a huge shelf. Well, we call it, don't we, shelf help. A whole bunch of these books that share with us all these different ways of reciting affirmations and different ways of choosing happiness. But somehow, I don't know, just the right thing has to land for you, doesn't it? And for me, this was in the guise of meeting the amazing Sue Stone, who is my guest this week, because despite being really, well, without blowing my own trumpet, I'm quite au fait with everything to do with, positive thinking, with manifesting, with all of that stuff. I'm a Hay House author. I was on Hay House Radio for years, getting to interview the great and the good, the gurus and all the rest of it. But somehow I did find it hard putting it into practice in my own life. I did sometimes find myself going down that little rabbit hole of despair, into that anxiety mode. I would sometimes find it hard to be able to reframe the picture and choose happiness. Now, since ditching the booze 5.5 years ago, it has been easier. I definitely am happier now. I definitely do reframe things much better. But I still love being reminded of how all of us can literally create the future that we want. We can literally choose our thoughts, and that expression, we can be the director of the movie of our lives. We really can. And someone who is queen of this, she's absolutely the queen of it all, is Sue Stone, who is an inspirational speaker, a TV presenter, and a transformational leader. I met Sue when we were both on a TV show, Feel Good Factor TV, although I'd seen little aspects of her work before, and we've become really good friends, and I just absolutely love the work that she does, including her great new book, A Wonderful World for All. So really hope you enjoy the interview. Sue Stone, who is an incredible author, inspirational speaker, and transformational leader. Welcome, Sue.
Hi, Janey. Thanks for having me back on. Absolutely
it's so
delighted.
lovely to chat to you again. Well, you are just such a wonderful ray of sunshine and always so optimistic. And I try and be optimistic, but every now and then I get a little bit of fear comes in, panic. And then I have to think, I need to ring up Sue. Because you've always got the positive approach. So I love it. So I think we need a little bit of that. And I wanted to talk to you about your excellent new book, A Wonderful World for All, a practical guide, which came out a little while ago. So before we do any of that, there will be people who are new to your work. So do you want to just give us a really quick kind of potted history of, what brought you to where you are now?
Okay, I can do that pretty briefly. Thanks, Janey. Yeah, years ago, my life hit rock bottom. Often we have that rock bottom, which is our wake up call. Mine was split up with my husband. But one thing I do want to say is I had a belief at the time that once one thing went wrong, a load of other things would go wrong. And of course, that was a huge self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. And I hadn't realized how powerful our beliefs were in those days. Anyway, hit absolute rock bottom. Up to my eyeballs in debt, no money, ex-husband not contributing towards 3 kids, had my home about to be repossessed. And that moment when I got down to my last £10, when I remember crying, thinking, how on earth has my life come to this? But at some level, I knew I had to do something to turn my life around, and started reading self-help books. And that is a very potted history.
Yeah,
and it's been quite an incredible journey with all the books that I read. And this is 20 odd years ago now, don't forget. And I've been on this journey helping other people since 2005, having transformed my own life and having got my inner world right, as I would say, my outer world reflected. And wow, what a difference it's made.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, I had a similar situation in that, I kind of did my little waking. I didn't necessarily have the complete rock bottom, but I did my little waking up piece sort of gradually. But I think I don't know that I ever really, because I didn't have the actual rock bottom, it was all much more kind of gradual for me, if you like. And I think even now after all these years of stuff that I've been doing, even I still get these kind of moments, as I alluded to there, where a bit of fear comes in, and and once you allow that to start taking over, oh my God, I can on the one hand, I'm grateful that I have that experience, because it enables me to be much more compassionate to other people and the people I'm working with. It does allow me to be very realistic, if you know what I mean. So I'm grateful for that. But I do think we need constant reminders that, our thoughts create our reality. We have to constantly remind ourselves.
I think there's two main phrases that sums up everything. My thoughts create my future, my reality, as you just said. And the way I feel in every moment is what I am creating. The feeling is the energy we're giving off, the emotion, the energy emotion. And of course, this is science now, that two things in vibrational resonance are drawn together. So, and the indicator of the vibration you're on is the way you're feeling. So when we put that fear or start getting that negative self-talk going, and before we know it, we can turn it into a huge drama, can't we? And I've done it. Don't forget, I have been the expert at doing it all wrong. And when we're sending that fear consciousness out across the ether, across the universe, we are very much sending off a fear consciousness to draw more back into our lives to make us fearful. And I think the key is, and I noticed this a lot recently, is for a lot of people that know what to do, but they forget to do what they know, and that they've normalized, should we say, quite a mediocre life or a negative life. And they haven't hit that absolute rock bottom. That fear of being homeless and not being able to feed my 3 children. When I started learning this stuff, and as you know, I've researched and delved deeply for 20 years into understanding quantum physics, neuroscience, or of the conscious, subconscious mind, what we sow, we reap. It's my passion and purpose. And I know that I made it my mission to work on myself, because the fear of being homeless was the thing that, my thoughts create my future. No, that's not the future I want. So I think I know I am hardwired to be focused on the solutions, to be grateful in every moment of all the good in my life. And it's a very natural state of being for me, because when we work on ourselves and change our thinking, but really we know we can create new neural pathways, and it doesn't actually have to take that long, then I know I'm not normal.
But I think there'll still be people thinking, oh yeah, well, I know you had your rock bottom and everything's good now, but you don't have what I've got going on now. I've got severe pain, or I've got this, so I can't choose my feelings because I've got this terrible pain or illness or whatever it might be. So how do you deal with someone who has something actually going on in the moment that is very real?
I understand that, and life has its ways of bringing challenges for us, but it's how we choose to respond to them. And often, look, there's a lot of poorly people out there at the moment, and they have my absolute compassion and empathy, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you haven't got your health, then that's the most important thing. I know that. I'm very grateful for that. But if we can focus on being healed and finding the solution, we will far more likely draw to us the solution, the answer, to help us. But I think the key is and what I've also learned along the way, is that every thought we think, every word we speak, and emotion that we have is heard by every cell in our body. And I don't know how long I've got, but I could start to talk about if we keep having worried, anxious thoughts and emotions, our brain produces worried, anxious peptides. And these peptides travel to the cells in our bodies via doorway-like receptors and influence the way our cells behave. Like we might go bright red when we're embarrassed or angry, or white as a sheet when we're scared. But what happens, our cells are dividing and multiplying, millions of them every day, and dying off in every hour. But what happens is these cells that are multiplying, if what will become more prone to anxiety and worry and ill health, actually dis-ease in our body, disease, which manifests as all sorts of issues, if we hold on to those emotions. And so I think at lots of levels, whatever is going on is just not to feed it. And this is why a lot of people have a chronic problem. I've got a bad back. I've got a bad back. I've got a bad back. I found myself being quite aware of this a number of years ago when I learned this, that every word we speak is heard by every cell in our body. And I remember I used to say, well, I might not be negative, Sue Stone, but I kept saying, I've got dodgy knees. And I thought, stop saying you've got dodgy knees, Sue. So
Stop reinforcing
I even picked myself up on that. So I'm every day, my knees are healing. My knees are getting stronger and stronger. So I fine-tuned myself and to pick that out. So it's more focusing on the things that we've got to be grateful for than giving too much energy, acknowledging it. I'm not saying we should suppress it, absolutely not, but just not give too much of the negative energy to it, because it's by sending love to any of our problems, which can sound easier said than done, I know, all those years ago, but we're far more likely to heal than sending hate to a situation or fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, you know, in the book you share some really fantastic, very simple mantras, you know, actual words that we can say, you know, and of course we can adapt them. But sometimes, you know, if your mind's racing with this negativity, we can just put a different record on, just change the tune and actually just recite something. Because as you said before, you know, even if we don't necessarily believe it in that moment, everything's listening. So if we're stating some positive thoughts, everything's going to be tuning in. You know, what's not to like? It's got to be worth a shot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you love my phrase, I love life and life loves me.
Yeah, I really love that phrase.
Thank you. But what I've just realised, Janey, look at the T-shirt I've got on. It's one of mine that says, the more you love life, life loves you back.
Yeah,
and
lovely.
I've just realised I've got that on chatting with you. But and let me say, just for anyone listening, that how can I love my life at the moment? But I cultivated the belief that I love my life. I realised if we want any more of anything in our life, we've got to learn to send love to it. I love my life. Thank you for bringing in all the good. I am grateful. And even if it's the tiniest thing, which in the beginning it felt like I hardly had anything to be grateful for. I had 3 children. I was alive. I had a pulse. And I actually did have a roof over my head. And I wasn't actually homeless. It was the fear of being homeless. But do you know what? Gradually, slowly but surely, it's amazing how if we can send a predominant energy of love and gratitude out into the universe, we're more likely to, effortlessly draw to us more on that vibration.
Yeah, absolutely.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
I do think it's very interesting, you know, that I was thinking about this the other day. You know, I hold my Sober by the Sea events, and usually it's a very tiny group of usually women who come along, and we create a vision board. And I'll often ask them, you know, before, you know, we'll be chatting, and I'll say, you know, what is it that you want very simple question, you know, what do you want, or what do you want more of in your life? And it's really astonishing that in so many cases, even just the question makes them cry, because they haven't actually thought about that question for themselves for years. Perhaps since they were teenagers, they've not thought about the answer to that question, because their life is so entrenched in minutiae and sorting out everybody else, the kids, the teenagers, the elderly parents, the you know, partners, whatever it might be. They're trying to keep the roof over their heads, trying to carry on working, juggling every, you know, it's almost like they're just literally on that hamster wheel, and they've never stopped to think what they want. And then when they do allow themselves to have a little bit of a dream, oh, well, I always wanted to, you know, live by the sea, or I always wanted to whatever, that's a kind of a, oh, but I'll do that when, you know. It almost feels like, who am I to try and claim something that I might want, however small it is, even if I can identify it. And I do think it's so interesting when we just take back a little bit of, I don't know, self-esteem enough to recognize, of course we can choose the life we want. Of course life loves us, as you say, and if we decide to love life back, we're more likely to get more of what it is we choose to want.
Exactly, spot on. And of course, that is the key, isn't it? I remember I lost myself. You know, you and I are very similar in that respect with helping people. And I became the mother, the daughter, the wife, the business partner, this, the that, da, 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 da. And we do lose ourselves. But no one is any more important than anyone else. No one is any more important than anyone else. And I say to people, dare to dream. You know, we are the director of the movie of our lives in our mind. So for goodness sake, direct a movie that you like the ending of.
Yeah, exactly.
So powerful.
Exactly.
And vision boards are fantastic.
Yeah.
Particularly vision boards are fantastic as long as they make you feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
I say to people, there's no point in having a vision board that when you look at it, all you do is get frustrated and feeling, well, I haven't got that yet, because that will have a negative impact. But it's dare to dream that you are worthy. Everybody is worthy. When life isn't supposed to be a struggle, we're here to thrive and love life, but we've been programmed to believe, you know, certain other things. So we're all very powerful beings, every single one of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact in the book that you talk about the Ho'oponopono that nobody can say. And I spoke about this once before on a podcast. We were talking about forgiveness, particularly. And let's just talk about that for anyone who hasn't heard about that, because it's very powerful. It's very simple, but very powerful. So just explain how you, why you decided to include it in the book.
Well, yeah, Ho'oponopono. Took me a long time to say it, but even then, if you were in Hawaii, they'd probably say it slightly different.
Yeah.
But Ho'oponopono, it's a short healing mantra. And as you know, I love very simple self-transformational tools. And what I love about Ho'oponopono is very simply is that they believe very much in the divine and in the creator, but that every emotion we have, every negative emotion, should we say, is a trigger. It's from a memory within us, be it a conscious memory, a subconscious memory, a soul memory, a cellular memory, or whatever, a past life memory, if we, some people very firmly believe in that as well. And actually I do too. But if we, but what in us that we want to clean the memory, it's cleaning the data. You imagine you've got a virus in your computer. What do? We run the antivirus, we clean it so everything flows so much better. And what I love is the simplicity of it all, is that it's just 4 little words or 4 phrases. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. Thank you for healing this. Some people start with I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. But I learned from Dr. Hugh Len, who sadly has recently passed away, but he, along with Joe Vitale, that was in The Secret, brought it very much to the fore. When you say, I love you, you're connecting to your higher self. Please forgive me for whatever my part to play in this has been at some level. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you for healing it. And you just hand it over to the divine. And I've seen the most miraculous things occur with families, fallouts, where no one has to prove who's right, who's wrong. You just set that intention. And we know that distance healing is very, very real, that we can send love to the situation rather than hate or anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's just short, simple, and hugely powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And just to add to that, in case anyone's thinking, well, someone's done something to me, I'm the wronged party. You can still say, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, even if you've been, in inverted commas, wronged, because, as you say, there will have been a part in this. We don't even need to identify what it is, but it's still important to say that piece, isn't it?
And some level, and also just to also say, and in my first book, Love Life, Live Life, I did a whole chapter on the importance of letting go and forgiveness. Forgiveness, what you're saying, please forgive me, you're actually saying, please forgive me to the divine, not necessarily the other party person, because forgiveness does not mean that we are condoning another person's behavior. I think that is the big thing here. Condoning is not, it's not condoning another person's behavior, but we're freeing ourselves. I think it's letting ourselves be free from holding on to that. And I think one of the most powerful statements here is holding on to resentment and bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah,
I mean, literally. That's a heavy statement, but when I learned that, I thought, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. We see that all the time in the work that I do with family constellations, and we see it. We see how it can be freed. Well, I know it from my own life. For all the years that I held that bitterness towards my mum, before I had the experience of family constellations, I was literally locked in that bitterness, because I just couldn't I just hadn't got the right perspective. I just couldn't see for the whole picture. And when I did I finally did constellations, and I saw it from a completely different perspective and was able to let go of that and bring in the love. It's just incredible how things change. But so often, you're absolutely right, people are hanging on to resentment, hatred, just and it eats you up. It literally eats away at you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I've never done family constellation, as you know.
Oh, you'll have to come and do one with me.
Well, my fellow TV presenter came, obviously I won't mention her name, came to one of yours recently, and she thought it was hugely powerful and fantastic. So
oh, good. Yeah.
How fantastic is that?
Yeah, it can be so unbelievably powerful. And what can happen is, exactly as you've just kind of described there, people see things from a different perspective. They're able to literally let go in the moment because they've seen a different perspective of any bitterness they're carrying, any entanglement really from the past. And it's just incredible how that literally sets them free. You go out feeling lighter.
That was exactly what I was going to say. It frees you from the past. It frees you from the chains of your negative and limiting thoughts and beliefs that we've had from a situation. And that freeing things, it allows us to thrive in life. And of course, as you exactly say, our energy becomes lighter, which of course is what this book is all about, is that the energies are accelerating, that the vibrations are rising. So the more important now, all these dark, low vibrational energies and memories that we've all had, and all sorts of things at lots of levels, are all coming up to be cleared. It's all coming up now. So this work that both of us do is becoming very much to the fore now, and for people reaching out and looking for something to really heal from the past naturally, rather than obviously just go to the doctors and take an pill for every ill. Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, it even just a few years ago, I don't know that we could have had quite the same conversation, but now I think people are much more open to this idea that it's up to us to raise our vibration, and remember to keep our vibes high. It really is up to us. And I think that's it's just so incredibly powerful. I know that in the book as well, you have a chapter, a little section written by Pam Gregory. So tell us, for again, there'll be people listening to this who have never considered the role of astrology in any of the stuff that we talk about. So explain how you believe that fits in.
Well, lovely Pam Gregory is a very, very dear friend of mine. I've known her for many, many years, and she is the most talented master astrologer. Now, she knows that I never listened to astrology before, because I've always thought, if it tells me I'm going to have a bad day, I don't want to listen to that, because that's not going to be my truth, sort of thing. However, what I love, and how accurate Pam does YouTube videos frequently now, giving people updates of what's going on and how the planets, and she looks back to the history of when the planet was in the same position, a long time ago. But as she quite rightly says, is that the astrology is only half the picture. It gives you the music sheet, it gives you the pot of clay. How you then play the music, or what you create with your pot of clay, what you mold, is up to you. And that's where obviously my work on the ground comes in very much, and that our focus is our food. So whilst we can be guided, whatever, with the astrology, it is still down very much to each one of us to realize how powerful we all are, that we are all capable of creating a wonderful world, and that the power of the collective consciousness, that the more of us that come together with a vision of creating a better world, a fairer, kinder, more equal world for everybody, not just the few at the top, and that everybody else is struggling, and it's happening before our eyes. We are all very focused on much more community stuff, grassroots stuff, people-led projects, just helping people. What we give out, we get back, and it's
absolutely.
very exciting times, actually.
It is, and I definitely think the power of community, it can't be overestimated, really. It's incredible that when people come back to communities, that's when magic starts to happen. We've had for too long there's been this thinking of, I'll have to go it alone. And actually, when we start to recognize that we can support one another, it makes a massive difference. And to that end, you've got a little piece in the book from Dr. Sam White as well. I've got his name right, haven't I? Is it Sam White?
Yeah, Dr. Sam White. Sam White. He talks more about functional medicine.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But no, sorry, my thinking, I tell you, my train of thought there was the People's Health Alliance. You mention in the book the People's Health Alliance, who are bringing together communities. And then that train of thought led me to...
that's what I say, my last chapter, or penultimate chapter in the book, is about, it's already happening, it's just where we're putting our focus. The Catherine McBean, who's a visionary, had this vision for 20 odd years that one day this would happen, and she set up the People's Health Alliance, and it's very much about communities coming together with more functional doctors, healing, natural healing, energy, and the People's Food and Farming Alliance, with the importance of supporting the communities. And of course, my sons, Rich and Nick, who set up their Nourish community 3 years
that's fantastic
ago.
Isn't it? The work they're doing with that growing their organic veg, amazing.
And giving it to the local community for people that can't, fall across hard times. So things are happening, and people just need to look up the People's Health Alliance, People Food and Farming Alliance, obviously my sons Rich and Nick Stone, Nourish community. And as I say, Dr. Sam White, as a functional medicine doctor, talking about how people with chronic problems have been on medication, on the pharmaceuticals for so many years, they go to the root cause of the problem and start to heal with ways of eating better and all sorts of different types of things. So there's lots going on in the world. Now's the time. We're all shifting into a better, more beautiful world for everybody.
I love it. So just to sum up as well, that in the book because I think when people first start out on this kind of path, because for some people it might be the first time they've ever considered, oh, hold on a minute, I actually can take back control of my thoughts. I can actually choose, because it really feels for a lot of people, at least initially, that you are separate from your thoughts and that they control you. But actually, when you kind of realize, you know what, I can actually take back some control here. I can choose how I want to feel. But what you've done is you've made it really easy, because you've actually listed some sentences, for powerful self-talk. And that's super helpful, because I know that, years ago for me, when I started sort of even trying to think this way, I'd be sabotaging myself even through the process, thinking, oh, well, that's not quite right to say it like that. So you've actually made it really easy for us, because to start with, we can just borrow one of your phrases, right? And it won't do any harm.
Well, that's what I say. I say to everyone, I share openly. Look, if someone had said to me, well, someone did years ago, said, one day your life will change enormously. You'll be helping people all around the world. It was a psychic that I went to see when I was absolutely desperate. But all I do is share. I'm so passionate. I think, my goodness me, if I can learn to love life again, and I'd forgotten what it felt like to be happy. And I thought, I just want to share openly what's helped me so much. I'm not trained in any of this. I'm not qualified in. All I've done is research and study for 20 odd years and share what I've learned. But I think the key is, it's no point knowing what to do. We've got to do what we know, apply it in our life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long if only we just set that intention that actually I can do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's amazing how our life can change.
Yeah. But, again, for anyone who's listening who's a bit skeptical, this isn't actually woo-woo. This actually is all scientifically proven, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is what I love, is that it's actually ancient wisdom that now science backs up. And that is hugely exciting. And look, I'm living proof this stuff works. And obviously, since 2005, when I came out, bought the domain name SueStone.com, and thought, what do I do next? So many people said to me, you helped me see life in a different way. You should be doing this. And of course, now it's, goodness no, I wouldn't know how many people over the years that I've helped. And as I say to people, I can hand you the tools. All you got to keep is pick them up and keep using the tools, and before you know it, it becomes a very natural way to live life.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Yeah, because it is about forming a new habit, isn't it? Actually remembering to recite this stuff. And when the negative talk comes in again, I'm sure I've said to you before that lovely concept that we actually can only have a negative thought for a maximum of 90 seconds. And then we have to recreate another one. And of course, that's what most of us do. We're kind of 90 seconds in worrying about something. And oh God, and another thing. Oh shit, well, that's going to happen as well. But actually, if we can catch it and actually replace it, and you've actually given us some there in the back of the book that we can, if we can't think of anything ourselves, we can read one of yours, right?
I just
we can catch it and change
chapter. It. Sharing what I call my powerful self-talk. But very simply, all we need to do, and what I did in the beginning, is just about converting that inner critic to be your inner coach.
Yeah.
So when you start to become aware that your inner critic, your self-sabotaging voice is kicking in, we just acknowledge it and we say, look, it's okay that I'm having this thought right now, because right now I don't know how I'm going to pay that bill. I don't know how I'm going to get better, but actually I'm not going to feed you negative thought, and I'm going to let you go. And we bring in the inner coach that says, because every day in every way, I am open to finding the solution for this. Every day in every way, I'm opening to be healed, or every day in every way, I'm open to all the ways money can show up in my life. We become solution conscious, not problem conscious.
Absolutely.
And that is all I did in the beginning. Literally moment by moment awareness.
and now it's a way of life for you. It's ingrained, isn't it? It's amazing. And I just absolutely love your positivity. I just love it. And I remember when I can't remember when it was, when I first found out that my BBC Radio 2 show was ending, which of course after 24 years is a big shock. And I think you were one of the first people I told, and just said, oh, it's coming to an end after 24 years. And what most people would have said and did is, oh, poor you, oh dear, oh dear, you must be really upset. And you just wrote back and said, wow, that's massively exciting. I wonder what else the universe has in store for you. Which was fantastic. That's exactly how it should be, isn't it? Rather than focus on negatives, let's look at what else is there, right? Yeah,
exactly.
I love it.
You got it, girl.
Yeah. So if you had to sum it up, what it's a fairly short book. We can read it in a fairly short space of time, but it's very powerful. So if you had to sum up, what do you want people to get from this? What would it be?
It's about being mindful where you're putting your focus.
Yeah,
I think that's the key with all this. We get more of what we focus on. So let's focusing on creating a better world for yourself, a life you love, but also for the greater good of all. I think that's it. But I think my key is that I keep things simple. When you understand it, it makes it so obvious that you've got to apply it in your life. In fact, interestingly enough, Janey, this book, A Wonderful World for All, which only got launched, book launch, as you know, 29th of January this year, it's gone round the world.
Fantastic.
Absolutely round the world, and has already outsold my other two books.
Brilliant. Well,
I'm really, timing is now for a book like this.
Yeah, it really is. You've made it very, very very, very practical, exactly as it says on the tin, a practical guide. Thank you, Sue. I really appreciate it. I love chatting to you, and I love everything you do, and I love you. You are just such a lovely, wonderful friend.
And I love you too, Danny. Thank
gorgeous
you so
book,
much for having
A
me
Wonderful
on.
World for All. Well, we should mention, by the way, the gorgeous kind of diamond sparkly thing on the front, which is really lovely. You've got a heart-shaped diamond on the front. Why did you choose that?
Well, it was just in the vision. I thought I wanted this beautiful, because it is about the new heart-centered world that we are creating, and I just felt it had to be a diamond. And then it was actually an amazing, lovely lady, Corinne, who's I said, I really fancy this vibrant blue, but with this diamond, and she suddenly found it and sent it to me, and I was like, that is it. That amazing. Is the one. So it's just that we all have that richness within, and sparkly diamond and heart-shaped.
Love it. Well, we'll put all the links in the show notes, and I really appreciate it, Sue. I hopefully see you soon. Thank you.
Hopefully. Thanks so much for having me on, Janey. See you soon.
Thank you, Sue, and we'll make sure you get everyone gets the link to the book and the fantastic work that Sue does. Don't forget, if you would like more on how you can reduce anxiety, on how you can focus on what it is you really want, if you check out thesoberclub.com, we've got a huge member portal there where we've got so many amazing resources. We have people there offering meditations, hypnosis kind of sessions, EFT. We've got so much on how we can actually choose our thoughts. There's also a wonderful session with Yakov Darling Khan, shaman, where we can literally watch him drumming, and we can just shake it all out, because there's something quite magical sometimes about getting out of your head, in inverted commas, in a good way, and just dropping into the body and shaking everything out. So there are lots and lots of resources there in the member portal of the Sober Club. It's for you if you're sober curious, just thinking maybe I should stop drinking, or maybe I could, or maybe you've been sober for absolutely years. It's all about the well-being piece. It's all about focusing on that living that life that you don't need to escape from. So do check it out, thesoberclub.com. I'll see you next time. You've been listening to the Natural Health and Sobriety Show on UK Health Radio.